Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the Dictionary. If you listened to yesterday's episode, you heard David as the guest reader, and we have David again today. We'll see if I let him back in again in the future.
Thank
All right,
you, Spencer.
David, go for it.
All right, thank you, Spencer. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Our first one for today is alternation of generations. This is from 1813. And the definition is the occurrence of two or more forms differently produced in the life cycle of a plant or animal, usually involving the regular alternation of a sexual with an asexual generation. So sort of a mix and match there.
Yeah, literally, I guess.
Very good. All right. So our next one has actually two forms, two definitions. This is alternative one. Okay, so this is an adjective from 1540. Number one, we have the synonym alternate one. Number two, offering or expressing a choice, such as several alternative plans. Number three, different from the usual or conventional. So I would probably say Spencer is an alternative to a...
There's no alternative to me. I'm unique.
Very good. This is 3A, Spencer. It's existing or functioning outside the established cultural, social, or economic system. The examples here would be an alternative newspaper or alternative lifestyles. The next is 3B. This is of, relating to, or being rock music that is regarded as an alternative to conventional rock and is typically influenced by punk rock, hard rock, hip-hop, or folk music. And personally for me, alternative really hit me in college when I heard Kurt Cobain. I thought that was alternative during my time. 3C, of or relating to alternative medicine. And here it would be used in a statement such as alternative therapies. And the adverb form is alternatively. And the noun is actually alternativeness. The second form of alternative from 1576, this is when alternative is considered a noun. 1A. A proposition or situation offering a choice between two or more things, only one of which may be chosen. 1B. An opportunity for deciding between two or more courses or propositions. Here's 2A. One or two or more things, courses, or propositions to be chosen. 2B. Something which can be chosen instead, such as the only alternative to intervention. And 3 is alternative rock music. And there is a synonym listed. Check out choice. So the synonym is choice. Our next one is from 1977. It's a noun, alternative medicine. So it sounds like that kind of got going at the same time culturally we started to experience that in this country.
Yep.
It's a noun from 1977, meaning any of various systems of healing or treating disease, such as chiropractic, homeopathy, or faith healing, not included in the traditional medical curricula of the U.S. and Britain. So interesting that neither country picked this up as an alternative form to medicine.
Well, it's an alternative form.
Literally.
Yeah, they didn't pick it up as traditional medicine, and I think there's obviously still a lot of people who agree with that decision.
And before Spencer and I go down that rabbit hole, let's just go to the next definition. It is a noun from 1972, alternative school. 70s were quite a time for social change. The definition is an elementary or secondary school with a non-traditional curriculum. And I think many of us know what that would look like. In fact, I'm sure some of us have some friends that have kids in alternative schools and such. So
Absolutely, yeah. It's a big thing, especially nowadays.
Right. And let's go to the next word, Spencer. It's alternator. Alternator. It's a noun, an old noun from 1883, and it means an electric generator for producing alternating current. So here's a word that might be uncommon in your usage. It's althorn. It's spelled A-L-T-H-O-R-N, and if you're into music, you might already know what this word is. It's from 1854. It's a noun. It means an alto sax horn. So it's basically an alto saxophone, Spencer.
Well, I'm not 100% sure on that. It's sax horn might be different from saxophone. I actually played the saxophone for many years, and I've never really heard sax horn. I don't know, maybe it's sort of a slang usage, but I might have to look into that and see what a sax horn is.
Touche, I walked right into that, you having played saxophone. I only played the French horn.
I set you up.
And the piano by ear. Yeah, that's not surprising. And I don't know where that attitude's from. Okay, the next word is although, and there is an uncommon spelling of although. Most of us know although is spelled A-L-T-H-O-U-G-H. There is also a version A-L-T-H-O, and it's a conjugation. It's from the 14th century, and it means in spite of the fact that, or even though. Our next word is a noun, altimeter, from 1768. Altimeter is spelled A-L-T-I-M-E-T-E-R. It means an instrument for measuring altitude, and more specifically and especially, an aneroid barometer designed to register changes in atmospheric pressure, accompanying changes in altitude.
You know what it's saying there, don't you? You understand every single word in that sentence.
Sure.
Yep.
And
me too.
Especially when I consider it's also a noun, so now it all makes sense. Altimetry. That is another form of altimeter. It's a noun, A-L-T-I-M-E-T-R-Y. Our next word that we're going to look at, Spencer, is a noun. It's altiplano, and it sounds like another uncommon word probably for most of us, A-L-T-I-P-L-A-N-O. And this word is from 1919. It means a high plateau or plain, and the synonym is tableland. So this word is actually from American Spanish, from the Latin altus plus planum. So I think a lot of us can make a judgment there if we know altus is altitude and actually also means high. So altus and planum together, high plain. Our next word is altitude. It's a noun from the 14th century. There are a few definitions of it here. 1A is the angular elevation of a celestial object above the horizon. 1B, the vertical elevation of an object above a surface, as sea level or land, of a planet or natural satellite. This is 1C1. A perpendicular line segment from a vertex of a geometric figure, as a triangle or a pyramid, to the opposite side or the opposite side extended, or from a side or face to a parallel side, or face or the side or face extended.
That was a fun definition.
I'm completely lost.
Yeah, me too.
Here's number 2. A high level, as of quality or feeling, such as the altitudes of his anger. 3A, vertical distance or extent. 3B, position at a height. And 3C is an elevated region, and usually used in plural. Eminence is a synonym. Also for a synonym, you can see the word height.
And I think that second one, height, is for the word as a whole. Eminence, I think, is specifically for the 3C definition, and then height is for the whole thing.
Thank you, Spencer. We also have 2 adjectives that derive from altitude. It is altitudinal and altitudinous.
Fun words.
Yes, so if you hear someone tell you that at a party or use one of those 2, they are both right.
They probably also listen to this podcast.
They should probably get off their altitudinal horse as well.
Nice one.
Sorry. Our next word is attitude sickness. Sorry.
Pretty sure that's altitude sickness. You got sickness in the attitude.
Your attitude is so sick. Okay, sorry. Altitude sickness. Remember, folks, this is a 47-year-old with contacts. The word is a noun. It's from 1901. And here's the definition. The effects, as headache, nausea, or swelling of the brain, of oxygen deficiency in the blood and tissues developed at high altitudes, having reduced atmospheric pressure. So this is something, Spencer, that probably a lot of mountain climbers experience.
Yeah, have you ever experienced this?
I did experience this a few times. One of my favorite states in the country is Colorado. I spent a lot of time there. And every time I've hiked to a peak, I've had some form of at least slight oxygen depravity.
No attitude sickness?
I think that's a lifetime disease for me.
I actually did experience altitude sickness when I was maybe 10 years old. My family and another family went on a road trip to the Colorado area. I can't remember if it was Colorado or some other part, but we were way up there.
Rocky Mountain National Park, maybe, right?
Probably. And we were at a restaurant, and I said I got to throw up, and I threw up into some. I think they brought like a potted plant over or something. I think I threw up in that, and I think I felt better. But yeah, that's my altitude sickness story.
I do have an altitude sickness story. I think I got, or more than one, but I'll keep it short. I had a few experiences of that in my uncle's plane when I was growing up. He would fly us around in a Cessna. So he would just stop by and he would just, pick me up as his favorite nephew, as his nephew who was named after him. And he would fly me around just different beautiful places, Tennessee, Wisconsin. Been to a lot of places, but I did experience altitude sickness.
Did you throw up in the plane?
I did not. I held it, but I could tell I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Spencer, we're rounding out the process here. Spencer, we are down to there's two words here. There's two meanings of one word, okay, and two forms of this word, alto. So the first one is a noun. The plural is altos. And it's from 1724. There are a few definitions here, Spencer. 1A is actually a synonym. They list countertenor. 1B, the synonym is contralto. So it's kind of like a counteralto.
And I think it could also be pronounced contralto, depending on the context, I think.
Well, it does have 1A, but it's a good point. It could be.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
Contralto. So, and then we have a second definition, the second highest voice part in a 4-part chorus, and that's probably what resonates with most of us. The third definition is a member of a family of instruments having a range lower than that of the treble or soprano. So, especially an alto saxophone.
And it comes full circle, ladies and gentlemen.
Boom! We've answered our own question.
The first saxophone I played, was an alto saxophone. I moved on. I skipped the tenor, and then I went right to the baritone. But I did get to play the bass saxophone for a couple of years, and I even tried out a contrabass saxophone once, which was awesome. And I hope that wasn't the last time I get to do that. But let's move on to the second form of alto. And
Spencer obviously didn't tell you that he rehearsed as well for The Simpsons, but they replaced the part and made it a woman instead of a man. The second version of alto is actually an adjective from 1724. It means relating to or having the range or part of an alto. And our final word for today, Spencer, and it's a doozy, so I'll spell it, is alto cumulus. Now, if you are a weather fan, you've probably heard this term. It is from 1844. It is a noun, and in plural form, you would spell it alto cumuli. So it's ALTOCUMULUS, and in plural form, instead of the LUS, you would spell it with an L and an I. This is from 1884, and someone must have looked up on a cloudy day and came up with this. You know what, Spencer? It'd be interesting if they listed who these definitions were discovered by, if they had that person's name.
When I edit this, I can look up alto cumulus and see if there is a single person who's designated as the inventor of the word. I doubt it, but there could be.
Right. I'm sure everything existed around that time. Cumulus, cumulonimbus, altocumulus, stratocumulus, whatever. Maybe I made up stratocumulus. I'm not sure. 1884 is when altocumulus comes into our vernacular. It means a fleecy mid-altitude cloud formation consisting of large, whitish, globular masses with shaded portions. And you would see what an altocumulus looks like if you would see a cloud illustration. So that's what the dictionary says.
Yeah, and I think that when we get to the seas, there will be an illustration of various forms of clouds, is what I'm guessing. Well, that is ending our episode. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you to David for talking.
Thanks for having me on, Spencer. Hope to be on again sometime soon.
We'll see what the people say. Please email at dictionarypod@gmail.com, tweet me, Facebook, etc. All the information are in the episode details. If you want to give me money so I can pay to do this, or so I can afford to do this, I have a Patreon with 0 subscribers. Thank you very much. And until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the dictionary. Yeah, it's not the thesaurus, it's the dictionary. I am back by myself in the audio studio. No guest readers today. I hope you liked David reading the last couple of episodes, and we'll probably have him back if you did. And if you didn't, please let me know how much you hate his voice. No, I'm kidding. He actually has a wonderful voice. He used to do radio, so he's got a wonderful voice, deep and full, and he's actually a very good singer as well. I know that he really wants to get back into the sort of radio podcasting world, so go check out his podcast. He did a few episodes with Emma called Total Brunch Face. I put the link in the previous episode. And hopefully he gets back into that world, and so I'll have more that he can plug in the future. Let's get to the words. First, we have the word all together, and it is one word, so it's 2 words all together to make one word. Altogether. This is an adverb from the 13th century. 1, we have the synonyms wholly, wholly, and completely, as in an altogether different problem, or stopped raining altogether. 2, in all, that is the definition. Synonym is all told, as in spent $100 altogether. 3, on the whole, whole, as in altogether their efforts were successful. Yay for them. Now we have the second form of altogether. This is a noun from 1893, and it just has the synonym nude, N-U-D-E. We need a little more info, so it says used with the word the, as in posed in the altogether. What? I have never heard this. This is clearly an old word. I'm a little surprised it doesn't say archaic or obsolete or something. Have you heard altogether used to replace the word nude? If you have, email me, tweet me, blah, 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 blah. But that's a new one for me. Next, we have alto relevo. And yeah, I think that's how it's pronounced. It is ALTO-RELIEVO. It could also be spelled with an RI instead of an RE. Plural is alto relevos, or alto relevi with an I. This is a noun from 1664. There is more information on the pronunciation and the different forms of it than there is actual definition. So, number 1 has the synonym high relief. 2, a sculpture in high relief. And I'm guessing that alto relievo literally means high relief in probably Italian, is my guess. My voice goes up. Okay, next we have altostratus. ALTOSTRATUS. This is a noun from 1890, a fairly uniform mid-altitude layer of gray cloud darker than cirrostratus. Cirrostratus is spelled Cirrostratus. And here it says, see the cloud illustration, which I think we mentioned in the last episode when we were talking about altocumulus. Next is altricial, Altricial. This is an adjective from 1869, being hatched or born, or having young that are hatched or born in a very immature and helpless condition so as to require care for some time, as in altricial birds. It says compared to the word precocial, Precocial. I'm pretty sure that is related to the word that we use for kids often, precocious. My niece was definitely a precocious kid. The definition of that, I feel like, is a little vague. I'm sure there's a very specific definition or multiple definitions, but I feel like if you were to ask most people what does precocious mean, you'd probably get a variety of answers. That's my guess. In general, I would say that humans are altricial when they're born. We need a lot of help. We need somebody to feed us. We need somebody to move us around. Most animals in the animal kingdom around the world start walking basically the day they're born, and they need to because they need to escape from predators. If that's the case, I'm thinking of like an elephant or a giraffe or something. I'm not so sure about the predator babies, cheetahs, lions, tigers, etc. But if I'm understanding this definition correctly, that's sort of my 2 cents on that. All right, I talked enough about that. Moving on, we have alt-rock. Alt-rock, R-O-C-K. This is a noun from 1989. It just is alternative rock music. Alt-rocker is a noun. Next is altruism. Altruism. This is a noun from 1853. 1. Unselfish regard for or devotion to the welfare of others. 2. Behavior by an animal that is not beneficial to or may be harmful to itself, but that benefits others of its species. Altruist is a noun, altruistic is an adjective, and altruistically is an adverb. Those 3 words just got longer and longer. The etymology for altricial is Latin altric or altrix, which is the feminine of altor, one who nourishes, and that's from alere, which means to nourish. And there's more at the word old. The next word is alula. I thought it was alula. It's spelled A-L-U-L-A. It's a palindrome, by the way, and I was just listening to a They Might Be Giants podcast talking about their song I Palindrome I. Funny coincidence. The podcast, by the way, is called This Might Be a Podcast. If you like They Might Be Giants, go listen to it. Shout out to you guys. But this looks like it's pronounced Alyella. This is a noun from 1772. The process of a bird's wing corresponding to the thumb and bearing a few short quills, called also bastard wing. That's interesting. The etymology says this is New Latin from Latin. It's a diminutive of ala, A-L-A, which means wing, and there's more at the word isle, A-I-S-L-E. Next we have alum, A-L-U-M. This is the first form. It's a noun from the 14th century. 1. A potassium aluminum sulfate. The chemical compound letters and numbers is a little confusing, so I'm going to see if I can describe this to you. First, we have K, A-L. Then in parentheses, we have SO4. And then there is a subscript 2 for the parentheses section, so we have 2 of those SO4s. Then it looks like it says 12 H2O. I think that 1 is a 1 and not an I or a lowercase l. Apologies for this weirdness, but yeah, that's what it says. So let's start this definition over again. A potassium aluminum sulfate, chemical letters and numbers, or an ammonium aluminum sulfate, more letters and numbers, used especially as an emetic and as an astringent and septic. 2. any of various double salts isomorphous with potassium aluminum sulfate. 3. We have the synonym aluminum sulfate. And if you're curious, the second set of letters and numbers is NH4Al, parentheses SO4, end parentheses 2, 12H2O. And I know letters and numbers is not the right way to describe that. It's a chemical compound, I guess would be more accurate. But yeah, that's what I said. Deal with it. Next, we have the second form of alum, but it looks like the first one was pronounced alum, and this one is alum. This is a noun from 1910. We have these synonyms alumnus and alumna. We will get to those words in a little bit, but if you are not familiar with them, that basically means you have graduated from a place. You are an alum if you've graduated from a high school or a college or something like that. Third form of alum is an abbreviation for aluminum. Next is alumina. I think that's how it's pronounced. I wanted to say alumina, but according to the pronunciation guide, we have an umlaut over the U, so it would not be an oo sound, as far as I can tell. Alumina. This is a noun from circa 1790. The oxide of aluminum, Al2O3, occurring native as corundum and in hydrated forms, as in bauxite or bauxite. Next we have aluminate or aluminate. This is a noun from 1814, a compound of alumina or alumina with a metallic oxide. Next we have what I would say is aluminum, but it actually, in the pronunciation guide, has the British version, which is aluminium. I always thought they said aluminium, but it actually is aluminium. Yes, this is a noun from 1805, chiefly British, and it just has the synonym aluminum. Are they spelled? Oh, yes, they are spelled differently. So aluminium has an IUM at the end, which makes sense. The American English version has UM at the end, which we will get to later. Next is aluminize. Again, I want to say illuminize, but it's not showing me that it's pronounced with an oo sound. This is a verb from 1888, transitive verb, to treat or coat with aluminum. And I think we will have aluminize be the last word for this episode. Thank you very much for listening while I stumble through these weird phonetics. And until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Do I need a sign-off? Do I need a phrase? If you have any suggestions, go to the episode details and email me, tweet me, etc. And let me know what you think I should say. I'll try and put some thought into this, but I'm not so clever, which is why I just say the same stupid things every time. Yeah, those are the words that I read. See ya. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of the dictionary. First, I would like to say that I've been listening to Chelsea Handler's podcast, which is very good, very deep dive into her life. She recently wrote a book, so she's been going on tour and she's been interviewing people or having people interview her. So if you like Chelsea Handler, it's definitely worth a listen. But I will say, even if you're not a big fan of her, it's very interesting. She's had a couple episodes with her therapist and talking about the progress that she has made with him. And she's really looked at herself and her history, and it's been really fascinating. But her most recent episode was where her therapist was talking about her personality type and the 8 others on this, I think it's pronounced Enneagram or Enneagram scale, 1 through 9. They went through all 9 of them. My wife and I have been looking at it and talking about it. So I can put a link if you want to take the test to see what you are. And I can give you some other examples that really go into what each type is. But it's been super fascinating. I don't know how new this type of scale is, but I hadn't heard of it. I am definitely a 9, in case you're curious. So do with that information what you will. But yeah, if you're curious to know what your personality type is on this scale, they seem to be very accurate. definitely go look at the information and take the test. Everybody pretty much has a lot of pieces from all 9 types, but there often is one or two that you really fit well. Like I said, mine is a 9. I just want to bring peace to the world, and that couldn't be truer. All right, enough of that. Let's get to the words. So, after looking at a couple of these words, we are starting with aluminosilicate, or silicate. It looks like the umlaut over the U that I mentioned in the previous episode does actually make the U sound an oo. Didn't really make sense to me. I'm not great with umlauts in general, but yeah, like for aluminum, it has the umlaut over the U, so I guess it's an oo sound, which is not exactly what I thought it would have the horizontal line to make it a long U, which would be oo. Am I talking too much? I am. All right, let's get into aluminosilicate. ALUMINOSILICATE. This is a noun from 1842. A combined silicate and aluminate, or silicate and illuminate, whatever your personal preference is. Next we have aluminous, ALUMINOUS. This is an adjective from the 15th century of relating to or containing alum or aluminum. And we have finally gotten to the American English word aluminum. This is a noun from 1810. A bluish, silver-white, malleable, ductile, light, trivalent metallic element that has good electrical and thermal conductivity, high reflectivity, and resistance to oxidation, and is the most abundant metal in the Earth's crust, where it always occurs in combination. And then it says, see the element table. We'll get to that in the E's. That was a fascinating description and definition of aluminum. I had no idea all those different adjectives were needed to describe it. Next we have aluminum oxide, 2 words. This is a noun from 1869. We just have the synonym alumina. Next is aluminum sulfate, also 2 words. Noun from 1868. A white salt, usually made by treating bauxite with sulfuric acid and used in making paper, in white purification, and in tanning. The chemical compound for white salt is Al2, parentheses SO4, end parentheses 3. Next we have alumna, ALUMNA. This is a noun from 1843. 1. A girl or woman who has attended or has graduated from a particular school, college, or university. 2. A girl or woman who is a former member, employee, contributor, or inmate. They use alumna or alumnus for being an inmate? Okay. Next is alumnus. This is a noun from 1645. Why is alumnus like 200 years older than alumna? Women existed in 1645. Did they just not go to school or be a part of anything? I don't understand this. There's some logical reason, I know, but it's just so interesting to me. Okay, 1. A person who has attended or has graduated from a particular school, college, or university. 2. A person who is a former member, employee, contributor, or inmate. So I'm guessing that alumnus was used for men and women, which I'm totally fine with. And then it wasn't until 200 years later that they thought that women needed their own word. I don't know if that's sexist or not. Honestly, I guess it's similar to the actor-actress word debacle. I guess if you need to, if you're talking about somebody and you need to specify that they were a man or a woman, you would use a different word. But I'm not sure how often that situation comes up. I'm not judging it, I'm just pointing out the information. Next we have alum root, all one word, ALUMROOT. This is a noun from 1799. Any of a genus, Heuchera, of North American herbs of the saxifrage family having basal rounded or lobed-toothed leaves, especially one of eastern North America. Saxifrage is spelled Saxifrage, and apologies if I pronounced it incorrectly. Next, we have alunite, Alunite. This is a noun from 1823, a mineral that consists of a hydrous potassium aluminum sulfate and occurs in massive form or in rhombohedral crystals. A lot of fun words there. Next, we have alveolar, Alveolar. I think that's the correct pronunciation. This is an adjective from 1778. 1. Of relating to, resembling, or having alveoli, especially of relating to or constituting the part of the jaws where the teeth arise, the air-containing compartments of the lungs, or glands with secretory cells about a central space. Secretory is probably supposed to be pronounced secretory. It's the cells that secrete things. 2. Articulated with the tip of the tongue touching or near the teeth ridge. Alveolarly is an adverb, and I think I pronounced that correctly. Alveolate is next. Alveolate. This is an adjective from circa 1796. Pitted like a honeycomb, as in alveolate pollen. Next is alveolus, L-U-S at the end. This is a noun from 1702. 1. A small cavity or pit, as 1a, a socket in the jaw for a tooth. 1b, a small air-containing compartment of the lungs in which the bronchioles terminate and from which respiratory gases are exchanged with the pulmonary capillaries. 1c, an acinus of a compound gland. Acinus is A-C-I-N-U-S. 1d, a cell of a honeycomb. 2, we have the synonym teeth ridge, all one word. So I think what it's saying is that, one of the definitions at least, is that the socket that your tooth is in is called an alveolus. Any dentists out there, please confirm what I'm saying. The etymology says this is Latin alveus, which means cavity or hollow. That's from alvus, which means belly or beehive. And it's akin to, I think it's saying Lithuanian, aulis, A-U-L-Y-S, which means beehive. Also Greek aulos, which means tube or flute. Next we have alway, A-L-W-A-Y. This is an adverb from the 14th century. We just have the synonym always, and it's archaic. The etymology says this is from the Old English ealne wedge, E-A-L-N-E, second word W-E-G, which literally means all the way. There is more information at the word way. Next we have always. This is an adverb from the 14th century. 1. At all times. Synonym is invariably, as in always smiling. 2. We have the synonym forever, as in will love you always. 3. At any rate, in any event, as in you can always try again. Can you? Maybe not. Next we have Alice Clover. Alice is capital A-L-Y-C-E. This is a noun from 1941, a low-spreading legume native to tropical Asia that is planted in the southern U.S. as a cover crop and for hay and forage. Next and last word for this episode is alyssum, A-L-Y-S-S-U-M. This is a noun from 1548. It goes on to the second page, so bear with me for a second. 1. Any of a genus of Eurasian herbs of the mustard family with small, usually yellow racemose flowers, called also madwort. Racemose is R-A-C-E-M-O-S-E. Madwort is M-A-D-W-O-R-T. 2. We have the synonym sweet alyssum. The etymology says this is from the Greek alysson, O-N at the end, plant believed to cure rabies. That is from the neutral of alissos, which means curing rabies, and that's from a plus lissa, which means rabies. How did rabies get into the picture? It is also called mad wart, so maybe that has something to do with it. But that will end this episode. It's only been 10 minutes, so I haven't come up with a good sign-off phrase. But again, if you can think of one, please let me know. I am open to suggestions. But until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds, and welcome to another episode of this podcast. It is called The Dictionary. And if you didn't know that, I am a little concerned for you because it should have been pretty obvious. So, right off the bat, let's see, a couple of days ago, yesterday, this was yesterday, I recorded a couple episodes on the This Might Be a podcast hosted by Greg Simpson. I actually drove a couple of hours to go be a guest. I didn't really want to do the Skype thing. Most of his guests go over Skype, and that's fine. But I think when you can be in person with somebody and have a conversation with them face-to-face like that, it's much better. And then audio editing-wise and all that, it's just much easier to be there in person. So I decided to go ahead and make a day of it. I went down, recorded a couple episodes, was there for 2 or 3 hours, and then went back home. It was a lot of fun, and when those episodes go up, I will let you know. If you're a They Might Be Giants fan, I hope you are already listening to his podcast. And if you are not, you should. And if you are not familiar with They Might Be Giants, I recommend that you go listen to them. All right, first word for this episode. This is a hard one. It's an emotional one. It is Alzheimer's disease. Capital ALZHEIMER apostrophe S, and then the word disease. In my family, we have been personally affected by maybe not specifically Alzheimer's, but definitely dementia in at least one or two members that have passed on. It's hard. It's hard to see somebody go through this. I recently learned from somebody who was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's that inflammation in the brain can actually bring this on. That's one of the, I think, reasons that scientists think that people can get early onset Alzheimer's. So if you have a brain injury, something like that, or even just getting hit on the head or a concussion, can have great effects on early onset Alzheimer's. So if you are a bike rider, motorcycle, riding a bike, skateboarding, anything like that, definitely wear a helmet. You never know when an accident can happen, even just in your day-to-day life, walking down the street. But whatever you can do to prevent head injury, please do that. All right, well, let's get to the actual definition of this word. This is a noun from 1911. A degenerative brain disease of unknown cause that is the most common form of dementia that usually starts in late middle age or in old age that results in progressive memory loss, impaired thinking, disorientation, and changes in personality and mood, and that is marked histologically by the degeneration of brain neurons, especially in the cerebral cortex, and by the presence of neurofibrillary tangles and plaques containing beta amyloid, called also just Alzheimer's. The name comes from Alois or Alois. Whoa, I don't know the pronunciation of that. Alois. He's German. That's his first name. Alzheimer was his last name, and he died in 1915. He was a physician, a German physician. Next, we have A-M, all lowercase. The definition just says this is the first singular version of be, and it does say P-R-E-S before that. I'm not exactly sure what that is short for, but it's a form of the word be, B-E. Next is another A-M with a capital A. It's the first form. This is an abbreviation for America or American. Second form of capital A, M, is a symbol for americium, which is, I'm guessing, on the periodic table. Now we have capital A, capital M, first form. This is a noun from 1940, a broadcasting system using amplitude modulation, also a radio receiver of such a system. Now we have the second form of AM, all caps. This is an abbreviation for 1. Airmail, 2. Air metal. That's the word air, A-I-R, second word M-E-D-A-L. 3. It's short for the Latin anno mundi, and it says in the year of the world, often printed in small capitals. 4. Ante meridiem, often not capitalized and often punctuated. 5. The New Latin phrase artium magister or magister, and that means master of arts. I would love to be a master of arts, but I think you have to do a lot of schooling to have the official name artium magister. Next we have AMA. I think it's pronounced ama, maybe. This is a noun from 1906, a Japanese diver especially for pearls or food. Next we have AMA again. This is all caps. This is an abbreviation for the American Medical Association. So I think that Japanese word was ama, and now we have AMAH, and I think it's pronounced ama. So the emphasis is on the different syllables. This one is also spelled differently. This is a noun from 1839, a female servant in Eastern Asia, especially a Chinese nurse. I'm guessing this word probably doesn't get used much anymore. Next we have amain, A-M-A-I-N. This is an adverb from 1540, one with all one's might, as in, the soul strives amain to live and work. And that is from R.W. Emerson. Number 2 is archaic. 2A, at full speed. 2B, in great haste. 3 is also archaic. To a high degree. Synonym is exceedingly, as in, they whom I favor thrive in wealth amain. And that is from John Milton. I apologize, I am not familiar with this word, so I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Next we have Amalekite. I think that is how it's pronounced. Capital A, M-A-L-E-K-I-T-E. Amalekite. This is a noun from 1537, a member of an ancient nomadic people living south of Canaan. Canaan is C-A-N-A-A-N. This is a Hebrew word. It's from Amaleki, and it looks like it's from somebody's name, Amalek, A-M-A-L-E-K, who is the grandson of Esau. Next is amalgam, A-M-A-L-G-A-M. This is a noun from the 15th century. 1. An alloy of mercury with another metal that is solid or liquid at room temperature according to the proportion of mercury present and is used especially in making tooth cements. 2. A mixture of different elements. Next we have amalgamate, A-M-A-L-G-A-M-A-T-E. This is a transitive verb from 1617, to unite in or as if in an amalgam, especially to merge into a single body. Synonym is the word mix, M-I-X. Amalgamator is a noun. Next we have amalgamation. This is a noun from 1612, 1a, the action or process of amalgamating. Synonym is uniting. 1b, the state of being amalgamated. 2, the result of amalgamating, and then amalgam is a synonym for that. 3, we just have the synonym merger, as in amalgamation of two corporations. Next is amandine, A-M-A-N-D-I-N-E. This is an adjective from 1941, prepared or served with almonds, as in fillet of sole amandine. I wonder why it's not almondine. There's no L. But it does look like it is a French word, so I guess they just spell it and pronounce it differently. Next and last word for this episode is amanita, Amanita. This is a noun from 1899, any of a genus of white-spored basidiomycetes fungi that typically have a vulva and an annulus about the stipe and include some deadly poisonous forms. Let me spell some of these words for you. Basidiomycetes, that's one word, Basidiomycetus. Vulva is Volva. There is another word that is Vulva. I'm guessing that these are similar, but I'm not sure of the exact differences. Annulus is Annulus. We will get to that word in an episode in the relatively near future, much closer than vulva. And the etymology says this is from the Greek amanitai with an I at the end, which is plural, and it's a kind of fungus. So that will end this episode. Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds, and welcome to another episode of the dictionary. Hello, how are you? What's going on? My name is Spencer, and I'm going to talk to you now about some words in the dictionary. First word for this episode is amanitin, Amanitin. I think it can also be pronounced amanitin. This is a noun from 1836, a highly toxic peptide that is produced by the death cap and that selectivity inhibits mammalian RNA polymerase. Apologies if you did not understand what that meant, because I didn't either. Next we have amantadine, Amantadine. This is a noun from 1964, a drug used especially as the hydrochloride C10H17N to prevent infection as by an influenza virus by interfering with virus penetration into host cells. Next is amanuensis, Amanuensis, amanuensis. This is a noun from 1619, one employed to write from dictation or to copy manuscript. The etymology says this is Latin from the phrase servus a manu, which means slave with secretarial duties. So this is probably a fairly old word that we don't really use anymore. But I guess if somebody's taking dictation or copying a manuscript, they could be called an amanuensis. That is a funky word. Next, we have amaranth, Amaranth. This is a noun from 1616, one, any of a large genus of coarse annual herbs, including forms cultivated as food crops and various pigweeds. The large genus says Amaranthus of the family Amaranthaceae. 2. A flower that never fades. 3. A red azo dye. Azo is AZO. The etymology says this is from the Latin amaranthus, which is a flower, and that's from the Greek amaranton, which is the neutral of amarantos, which means unfading, and that is from maranine, which means to waste away. So I think by putting the A in front of maranine, it becomes the opposite of waste away, meaning unfading. Next we have amaranthin, or amaranthine, Amaranthine. This is an adjective from 1667, 1a, of or relating to an amaranth. 1b, we have the synonym undying, Undying. 2, of the color amaranth. And if we look back at the previous word, we can see that that is a red azo dye. Next we have amaretto, A-M-A-R-E-T-T-O. This is a noun from 1873. 1, we have the form amaretti, which is plural, macaroons made with bitter almonds. 2 is often capitalized, an almond-flavored liqueur, which I quite like. Sometimes I'll get an amaretto stone sour when I need a drink and I'm not at home. Not too often, though, just every once in a while. It's sweet, and I like sweet stuff, so it's a good one for me. This is an Italian word. It's from the word amaro, which means bitter, and that's about it. I never really thought it was bitter. I guess technically they're bitter almonds, but maybe that's a different kind of almond than the kind that you just eat by the handful or use in food or milk or whatever. So maybe those are kind of bitter. I'd be curious to try one. Next, we have amarone, A-M-A-R-O-N-E. This is a noun from 1973, a robust, dry, red Italian wine with a high alcohol content. This is also Italian, and it literally means tart, very dry. Next, we have amaryllis, A-M-A-R-Y-L-L-I-S. This is a noun from 1754, an autumn-flowering South African bulbous herb, widely grown for its large, deep red to whitish, umbellate flowers. Also, a plant of any of several related genera. The etymology says this is New Latin. It's from the genus name Amaryllidaceae or Amaryllidaceae. It's probably from the Latin name of a shepherdess in Virgil's Eclogues. Oh, I'm sure I said that wrong. E-C-L-O-G-U-E-S. Next, we have the word amass, A-M-A-S-S. This is a verb from the 15th century. Transitive definitions are 1, to collect for oneself. Synonym is accumulate, as in amass a great fortune. 2, to collect into a mass. Synonym is gather, as in must select rather than simply amass details. Intransitive definition, to come together. Synonym is assemble. Amasser is a noun, and amassment is also a noun. But no, it doesn't taste like a mint leaf. It's M-E-N-T. The etymology says this is from the Latin masser, M-A-S-S-E-R, to gather into a mass. Next and last word for this episode is amateur, A-M-A-T-E-U-R. It's kind of a long one. So here we go. This is a noun from 1777. 1. Synonyms are devotee or devotee and admirer. 2. One who engages in a pursuit, study, science, or sport as a pastime rather than as a profession. 3. One lacking in experience and competence in an art or science. Amateur can also be an adjective. Amateurish is an adjective. Amateurishly is an adverb, and amateurishness is not only a noun, but it's also a hard word to say. And amateurism is a noun. This is when it gets long. We have some synonym information. Amateur, dilettante, dabbler, tyro. I've never heard of tyro. Those mean a person who follows a pursuit without attaining proficiency or professional status. Amateur often applies to one practicing an art without mastery of its essentials, as in a painting obviously done by an amateur. In sports, it may also suggest not so much lack of skill, but avoidance of direct remuneration, as in remained an amateur despite lucrative offers. Dilettante, D-I-L-E-T-T-A-N-T-E, may apply to the lover of an art rather than its skilled practitioner, but usually implies elegant trifling in the arts and an absence of serious commitment, as in had no patience for dilettantes. dabbler suggests desultory habits of work and lack of persistence, as in a dabbler who started novels but never finished them. Tyro, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, implies inexperience, often combined with audacity with resulting crudeness or blundering, as in shows talent but is still a mere tyro. And you'll have to wait about 20 or so years to hear that word. And that will end this episode. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of The Dictionary. I am your host, Spencer, and if you are in America, the day that this episode is being released is our Independence Day from those rotten English people. No, I don't mean that seriously. I'm just trying to be silly. But yes, back in 1776, we got our independence, and so today there will be lots of parades and fireworks. Speaking of fireworks, though, if you have any animals, please make sure they're comforted in some way. They don't like the loud noises usually. I think I heard that the 4th of July has the day that has the most escaped animals, the most lost animals that day because of all the activity and the loud noises. So please make sure that they are safe and they are comforted as much as possible. Please do that. And also, assuming you will be celebrating today, be safe, be smart, and have fun. And when I recorded this before, I forgot somehow to mention that the 4th of July is also my grandfather's birthday. So he will be turning 92 years old on the 4th of July, the day that this episode drops. All right, back to the rest of the episode. First word for this episode is amati, capital A, M-A-T-I. Plural is amatis, with an S at the end. This is a noun from 1816, a violin made by a member of the Amati family of Cremona. Next we have amative. I hope that's how it's pronounced. A-M-A-T-I-V-E. This is an adjective from 1636. 1. We have the synonym amorous 1. No, probably amorous 1. A-M-O-R-O-U-S. Ooh, we should be getting to that relatively soon. 2 is another synonym for the same word, amorous 3. Amatively is an adverb, and amativeness is a noun. Next we have amatory, A-M-A-T-O-R-Y. This is an adjective from 1599 of relating to or expressing sexual love, as in amatory adventures. Next we have amaurosis, A-M-A-U-R-O-S-I-S. This is a noun from 1657, partial or complete loss of sight, occurring especially without an externally perceptible change in the eye. Amaurotic is an adjective. This is from the Greek amaurosis, which literally means dimming, D-I-M-M-I-N-G, and that is from amaron, which means to dim. That's from amaros, which also means dim. Next we have amaurotic idiocy. Yes, I think that's what it's telling me. A-M-A-U-R-O-T-I-C, second word, I-D-I-O-C-Y. This is a noun from 1896. Any of several recessive genetic conditions characterized by the accumulation of lipid-containing cells in the viscera and nervous system, mental retardation, and impaired vision or blindness. Especially, we have the synonym Tay-Sachs disease, Tay-S-A-C-H-S. I have a feeling part of this definition might be a little bit outdated, so I'm just reading what it says. Apologies if that was offensive to anyone, but there might be a better definition out there somewhere. Next, we have the word amaze, A-M-A-Z-E. This is the first form of 2. It's a verb from before the 12th century. 1 is obsolete. We have the synonyms bewilder and perplex. 2. To fill with wonder. Synonym is astound. Now we have the intransitive definition, to show or cause astonishment. And I think I did forget to mention that those first two definitions were transitive. We have a synonym for this word. It's the word surprise. Surprise! I'm about to read the etymology. This is from the Middle English amasen, Old English amasian. Pronunciation is terrible. It's from masian, M-A-S-I-A-N, which means to confuse, and there's more at the word abide. Amazedly is an adverb. Second form of amaze is a noun from the 15th century, and we just have the synonym amazement, which is our next word. It's a noun from 1592. One is obsolete. Synonyms are consternation and bewilderment. 2. The quality or state of being amazed. 3. Something that amazes. Next we have amazing. This is an adjective from 1593, causing amazement, great wonder, or surprise. That is amazing. Next we have amazingly. This is an adverb from 1693. 1. To an amazing degree. As in, amazingly low prices. Come on down to the store and get these cheap, cheap prices. 2. As is amazing. As in, amazingly, she wasn't hurt by the fall. Next we have Amazon. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1 is capitalized. A member of a race of female warriors of Greek mythology. 2 is often capitalized. A tall, strong, often masculine woman. 3 is also often capitalized. Any of a genus of tropical American parrots typically having green plumage marked with other bright colors. Next we have Amazonian with a capital A. This is an adjective from 1594. 1. Relating to, resembling, or befitting an Amazon or an Amazon. The first time Amazon was said there was with a capital A, and the second time was with a lowercase a. 2. Of or relating to the Amazon River or its valley. Next is Amazonite. A-M-A-Z-O-N-I-T-E. This is a noun from circa 1879. An apple green or bluish green variety of microcline or microcline. M-I-C-R-O-C-L-I-N-E. I'm not sure what that is. Next we have Amazon stone, all one word. This is a noun from 1800, and we just have the synonym Amazonite, which is what I just read. Next we have A-M-B, all lowercase. This is an abbreviation for the word ambassador. We will do one more word for this episode. It is ambage. A-M-B-A-G-E. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1 is archaic. We have the synonyms ambiguity and circumlocution. C-I-R-C-U-M-L-O-C-U-T-I-O-N. Circumlocution, I think, is the correct pronunciation. Usually used in the plural. 2 is also plural and archaic. Indirect ways or proceedings. The etymology, if I pare it down, says this is from the Latin ambi plus agere, which means to drive, and there's more at the word agent. But that looks like that is the end of this episode. Again, please celebrate the 4th of July safely and smartly, and go take care of your pets. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of The Dictionary. First word for this episode is ambassador. A-M-B-A-S-S-A-D-O-R. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. An official envoy, especially a diplomatic agent of the highest rank, accredited to a foreign government or sovereign as the resident representative of his or her own government or sovereign or appointed for a special and often temporary diplomatic assignment. Whoa, that was a lot of words. Hopefully that was clear to you. 2A, an authorized representative or messenger. 2B, an unofficial representative, as in traveling abroad as ambassadors of goodwill. Ambassadorial is an adjective, and ambassadorship is a noun. Next, we have ambassador at large, 3 words with hyphens in between them. This is a noun from 1820. A minister of the highest rank not accredited to a particular foreign government or sovereign. Next is ambassadress. AMBASSADRESS. I'm guessing this is the female version of an ambassador, and probably not a word that we use ever anymore. This is a noun from 1594. 1. A woman who is an ambassador. 2. The wife of an ambassador. Next we have amber. I think that's how it's pronounced. I wanted to say amber because it's spelled AMBEER. This is a noun from 1848. It's chiefly southern and southern Midland. And we have the synonym tobacco juice. I might have to look this up later because I am super fascinated as to what tobacco juice is. My imagination can go wild, but I need some clarification on that. The etymology says this is probably an alternative of the word amber, AMBER, because of its color, which I'm guessing is very dark. Tobacco juice seems like it's probably, when somebody's chewing tobacco, it's probably what they spit out. It just sounds gross because that is not a juice. That is not something that anybody would want to drink, but that's probably what it is. Next, we have the word amber. First form of it, this is a noun from the 14th century. 1. A hard yellowish to brownish translucent fossil resin that takes a fine polish and is used chiefly in making ornamental objects as beads. 2. A variable color averaging a dark orange yellow. And if you are a fan of Jurassic Park, you should be relatively aware of amber because I believe that is what the sap of a tree turns into as it becomes fossilized, I guess. And of course, in Jurassic Park, the insects, like the mosquitoes with dino blood in them, were stuck in the amber, and they were able to extract the blood and make dinosaurs. But I think science these days in the real world has pretty much said that's impossible. Now we have the second form of amber. This is an adjective from the 15th century. 1. Consisting of amber. 2. Resembling amber, especially having the color amber. Now we have amber alert. 2 separate words, both with capital A's. This is a noun from 1997. A widely publicized bulletin that alerts the public to a recently abducted or missing child. Definitely not something that you want to get. The etymology says this is from the U.S. Justice Department Amber Alert program that issues such bulletins, originally from Amber Hagerman, who died in 1996, a U.S. victim of an abduction, later read as an acronym for America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response. As depressing and sad as this is, I think it's pretty cool that they actually named it after an actual person, Amber. So that's a pretty amazing way for her memory to live on. I'm assuming Amber is a girl's name. And then they were able to figure out a way to turn it into an acronym, America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response. Kind of a weird one, but I guess it works. Next we have ambergris or ambergris, AMBERGRIS. This is a noun from the 15th century. A waxy substance found floating in or on the shores of tropical waters, believed to originate in the intestines of the sperm whale and used in perfumery as a fixative. I don't really understand how or why people decide to take things in the natural world and put them in perfumes or foods or whatever it is. There are way too many examples of this. Why would somebody, did somebody just stick their nose into it and it smelled good? What is it that is used in perfumery? Does it actually smell good, or did they realize it was used, or it could be used for some other purpose in perfumes? And who was the first one who did this? I have a very similar question to a lot of other things. What interesting person decided to try this for the first time? The etymology says this is from Middle French, ambre, that's probably not said right, plus gris, Gris, which means gray, and there's more at the word grizzle. Next we have amberina, Amberina. This is a noun from 1885, a late 19th century American clear glassware of a graduated color that shades from ruby to amber. Next is amberjack, all one word. This is a noun from 1873, any of several carangid fishes, especially a large, vigorous sport fish of the western Atlantic. Carangid, it might be pronounced incorrectly. It is spelled Carangid. Their genus is Seriola with a capital S. And the other large, vigorous sport fish is S. dumerilli. I'm guessing the S is Seriola. Next, we have the prefix ambi, A-M-B-I. It just means both, as in ambivalence. The etymology says this is Latin ambi or amb, which means both, from Greek ampho, which means both, amphi means around, and there's more at the word by, B-Y. Ambidexterity is our next word. Ambidexterity. I feel like I'm a cheerleader saying a bunch of letters to have you yell them out or something. This is a noun from 1593, the quality or state of being ambidextrous. I'm actually not really trying that hard, but I'm interested in trying to write more and do more with my right side. I'm actually left-handed. Most things I do are on the left side, but I feel like I want to become a little bit more ambidextrous, which is our next word. I want to be more comfortable with my right hand, drawing, writing, whatever it is. I think it would benefit me. There's probably some mental brain effects by being more evenly matched that way. I have no proof of that, but I sort of feel that that's probably the case. So if I can strengthen my right side and feel more comfortable doing things with my right side, maybe that'll sort of even my brain out. Also, it's just, I think, useful to be, equally good on both sides of things. And here we have ambidextrous. This is an adjective from 1646. 1. Using both hands with equal ease. 2. Unusually skillful. Synonym is versatile. 3. Characterized by duplicity. Synonym is double dealing. Ambidextrously is an adverb. The etymology says this is from Latin, combining ambi plus dexter, D-E-X-T-E-R, which means right hand, and there's more at the word dexter. I think it's interesting that they used the Latin word for right hand in this word. I wonder, obviously most people are right-handed, so maybe they thought that would apply to most people. But if it's about being equally good at left and right, I'm thinking that maybe they could have gotten both the words for left and right in there. And what's interesting, I'm not sure if I remember this 100% accurately, but I think the Latin word for left is actually sinister or sinestra, something along those lines, which is interesting because we get the English word sinister from that. And they always thought, back in the day, they thought that people who were left-handed were evil and not right, which is why they tried to, get them to switch to their right hand, which is probably still going on to this day in some parts of the world, I'm sure. So as a left-handed person, I just always thought that was interesting. And now that I realize that ambidextrous comes from the word right hand, which I didn't realize, I find it even more interesting. Next, we have ambience or ambiance, A-M-B-I-E-N-C-E or A-M-B-I-A-N-C-E. This is a noun from 1815, a feeling or mood associated with a particular place, person, or thing. Synonym is atmosphere. Next, we have the word ambient, A-M-B-I-E-N-T, first form. This is an adjective from 1596, existing or present on all sides. Synonym is encompassing. Etymology says this is from Latin, ambire, which means to go around. That is from combining ambi plus ire, which means to go. That's one of the first words you learn in Latin, actually, ire. And there's more at the word issue, I-S-S-U-E. Now we have the second form of ambient. This is a noun from 1624. 1. An encompassing atmosphere. Synonym is environment. 2. Music intended to serve as an unobtrusive accompaniment to other activities, as in a public place, and characterized especially by quiet and repetitive instrumental melodies. Now we have our last word for this episode. It is ambiguity, A-M-B-I-G-U-I-T-Y. This is a noun from the 15th century. 1a, the quality or state of being ambiguous, especially in meaning. Ooh, I do not like it when things and people are ambiguous. I want things to be clear and concise. Maybe not necessarily concise, but clear. That actually reminds me of another podcast I'm listening to. Alan Alda has a podcast called Clear and Vivid. And at the end of the episode, he says, "This has been clear and vivid, at least I hope so." And I just thought that was a nice little joke in there. And it always is clear and vivid to my ears. So yes, clear and vivid. That podcast is all about communication and empathy. And so being ambiguous is not great for communication. But being clear and vivid is. All right, we're almost there. 1b, an ambiguous word or expression. And 2, we have the synonym uncertainty. That will end this episode. Thank you so much for listening. This is the day after Independence Day here in America. I hope that you are recovering well. You probably have to go back to work or back to school if you're a student. But today is also a Friday, so you're almost to the weekend, and I hope you go enjoy it. And until next time, which for you is tomorrow, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. We will be starting at the top of page 39 the next time. All right, thank you and goodbye. What is up, word nerds? You nerds for words. How are you doing? Welcome to another episode of The Dictionary. And of course, as usual, please subscribe if you haven't already. Please share. Contact info is in the episode details. Email, Twitter, Facebook. I don't have an Instagram, but I do have a Patreon. So if you want to give me some of your hard-earned dollars so I can keep on reading the dictionary, please give me those clams. All right, let's get into the words. First word for this episode is ambiguous. A-M-B-I-G-U-O-U-S. This is an adjective from 1528. 1a, doubtful or uncertain, especially from obscurity or indistinctness, as in eyes of an ambiguous color. 1b, we have the synonym inexplicable. 2, capable of being understood in two or more possible senses or ways, as in an ambiguous smile or an ambiguous term or a deliberately ambiguous reply. Aren't those the worst? Synonym for the whole word is obscure. Ambiguously is an adverb, and ambiguousness is a noun. The etymology says this is from Latin ambigere, which means to be undecided, and that is from ambi plus agere, which means to drive, and there's more at the word agent. Next, we have a word that looks to be kind of old. It is ambisexual. I guess it could possibly also be ambisexual, but I'm pretty sure it's ambisexual. ambisexual. This is an adjective from 1912, and it just has the synonym bisexual. So I'm guessing at some point, people just decided to use the word bisexual instead of ambisexual. I'm curious to know kind of what that was like. Why did the term get changed? And now I can't remember how I pronounced this word at the beginning. It could be ambisexual, ambisexual, ambisexual. Lots of options. I'm pretty sure it's similar to ambiguous, and it's just ambisexual. Ambisexual can also be a noun, and ambisexuality is also a noun. Next we have ambit. A-M-B-I-T. This is a noun from 1597. 1. We have these synonyms circuit and compass. 2. The bounds or limits of a place or district. 3. A sphere of action, expression, or influence. Synonym is scope. Next is ambition. The first form. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1a. An ardent desire for rank, fame, or power. 1b. Desire to achieve a particular end. 2. The object of ambition, as in, her ambition is to start her own business. 3. A desire for activity or exertion, as in, felt sick and had no ambition. Ambitionless is an adjective, and that word seems to fit with our previous definition, number 3 there. We have some synonym information. Ambition, aspiration, pretension mean strong desire for advancement. Ambition applies to the desire for personal advancement or preferment and may suggest equally a praiseworthy or an inordinate desire, as in driven by ambition. Aspiration implies a striving after something higher than oneself, as in an aspiration to become president someday. Pretension suggests ardent desire for recognition of accomplishment, often without actual possession of the necessary ability, and therefore may imply presumption, as in had literary pretensions. Now we have the second form of ambition. This is a transitive verb from 1664, to have as one's ambition. Synonym is desire. Next is ambitious. Adjective from the 14th century. 1a. Having or controlled by ambition, as in an ambitious young executive. 1b. Having a desire to achieve a particular goal. Synonym is aspiring, as in ambitious for power. 2. Resulting from, characterized by, or showing ambition, as in an ambitious film. Ambitiously is an adverb, and ambitiousness is a noun. Next is ambivalence. This is a noun from 1909. 1. Simultaneous and contradictory attitudes or feelings, as attraction and repulsion, toward an object, person, or action. 2a. Continual fluctuation, as between one thing and its opposite. 2b. Uncertainty as to which approach to follow. Ambivalent is an adjective, and ambivalently is an adverb. Next we have ambiversion. ambiversion. This is a noun from 1927, the personality configuration of an ambivert. ambivert is actually our next word. If I remember correctly, I think I've heard this word before. It's a person who is both equally an introvert and an extrovert. I think I have some tendencies to both sides. I think I lean towards the introvert side. But, in certain cases, I might call myself an ambivert. So here we go with the definition of ambivert. This is a noun from 1927, a person having characteristics of both extrovert and introvert, which is pretty much exactly what I said. I'm curious to know how many people actually would be considered an ambivert. I know a lot of people who definitely come across as extrovert or introvert, but I think, it's like a spectrum, like a lot of things. I think that we all have, I think we can all be described as an ambivert because we can be extroverted or introverted at different times, in different situations, with different people, etc. But definitely my default mode is introvert and homebody and being by myself. Next, we have amble, A-M-B-L-E, the first form. This is an intransitive verb from the 14th century. To go at or as if at an amble. Synonym is saunter. Ambler is a noun. I have such a vision in my head when I hear the word saunter. I'm not sure what exactly it is, but I don't know. Maybe you do too. I guess amble, I have a sort of similar vision in my head, and that's why they are synonyms. Now we have the second form of amble, and this will be the last word for this episode. It's a noun from the 14th century. 1a, an easy gait of a horse in which the legs on the same side of the body move together. B, we have the synonym rack B. So that would be the B definition for the word rack. And there's also a superscript 7 before the word rack. So I think that means that is the seventh form of the word rack. I don't think I've come anywhere close to seeing 7 forms of the same word before. I think I've seen 3 or 4, but 7 is a little insane. But rack, I guess that's a pretty general word that can be used in a lot of ways. There could even be 8. Oh my God, there could be 8 forms of the word rack. I guess we'll find out later. 2, an easy gait. And of course, gait is G-A-I-T, not G-A-T-E. And I think the easy description of gait is just sort of the way something walks. It could be a dog, it could be a horse, whatever. But it has to do with the way you walk, the way your legs move, the way your body moves, I think even that too. 3, a leisurely walk. That is the word amble. That is also the first quarter of page 39. And next is the second quarter of page 39. How strange it works out that way. So again, all the contact information, if you want to say hi to me, is in the episode description. And with that, I'm going to read some more words, and you are going to listen to them. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds! Welcome to another episode of the dictionary. I say this a lot, so I'm trying to change it up a little bit. It gets a little boring and repetitive, don't you think? Especially when you listen to this every single day. As usual, contact information is in the episode details. Wherever you are listening. I actually just this morning started sending this to some other sites. I saw a thing on Reddit that said, we've compiled all the different sites for podcasts and how you can put yours on there. So I started adding mine to some of those, and I still have a ways to go. But I just want to get this out there because I don't think people realize that there's a thing called the dictionary where you can go and learn words, learn new words, learn what the definitions of words are. So, of course, I think everybody should hear this. Please share and subscribe and rate and review and all that good stuff. All right, let's get into the words. First word for this episode, a very exciting word, amblyopia. A-M-B-L-Y-O-P-I-A. I don't know what it means. I'm going to find out in a second, and so are you, but I have to say this is just a very fun-sounding word. Amblyopia. Amblyopia, amblyopia. All right, enough of that ridiculousness. This is a noun from circa 1706. Dimness of sight, especially in one eye without apparent change in the eye structures, called also lazy eye. Amblyopic is an adjective. I know some people with this condition. I never knew it was called amblyopia. They probably know, but maybe they don't even know. I just know it as a lazy eye. Although I think that kind of is a not derogatory necessarily. That might be a little extreme. I wonder how people think of that term who have this condition. Do they think lazy eye is mean in any way? Or are they just like, yeah, I got a lazy eye? But I know from working with one of them, he said he can't go see 3D movies because his eyes don't really line up the way they're supposed to. It's something that they can't experience. The etymology says this is from Greek amblyopia, I guess it's the same word, which is from amblis, which means blunt or dull. And there's more at the word mollify, mollify. Next is amboyna, amboyna, could also be spelled amboina. Is there a word that's amgirlna? That's a stupid joke. This is a noun from 1770, a mottled curly-grained wood of a Southeast Asian tree of the legume family. The scientific name for the Southeast Asian tree is Pterocarpus indicus. Next we have ambrosia, ambrosia. This is a noun from the 15th century. 1a, the food of the Greek and Roman gods. 1b, the ointment or perfume of the gods. So it's the food of the gods, but also the ointment or the perfume of the gods. Are they eating the ointment/perfume, or are they putting the food on themselves to smell better? Somebody please clear this up for me. 2, something extremely pleasing to taste or smell. 3, a dessert made of oranges and shredded coconut. Ambrosial is an adjective that has an L at the end, and ambrosially is an adverb. I need some context on where you would use the word ambrosially. If you can think of one, please send me an email. The etymology says this is from Greek. Literally, it means immortality, which is interesting. I guess it's the food or the perfume for the Greek and Roman gods, which are probably immortal. But the thing that they're eating wouldn't necessarily be immortal. That is from the word ambrotos, which means immortal, and that is from combining a plus mbrotos, which is akin to the word brotos, which means mortal. So if we backtrack a little bit, adding the a to brotos makes it the opposite. So mortal becomes immortal. And there is more at the word, get ready for it, murder. Yes, the words murder and ambrosia are related etymologically. Next, we have ambrosia beetle. 2 words. This is a noun from 1897. Any of various small wood-boring beetles that cultivate a fungus on which they feed and raise their larvae or larvae. The scientific family name for wood-boring beetles is Scolytidae. Scolytidae. Are you learning things? I know I am. If you think people should learn more, please tell them about this podcast. All right, no more of that. Next, we have ambrotype. ambrotype. This is a noun from 1854. A positive picture made of a photographic negative on glass backed by a dark surface. Ambrotype. Next, we have ambry. ambry. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1, looks like it's a chiefly British dialectic word. We have the synonym pantry. 2, a recess in a church wall as for holding sacramental vessels. So if you are talking to a British person, maybe one of a particular part in the United Kingdom. If you're asking them about their pantry, they might use the word ambry. If any of you are British and are familiar with this term, please explain more to me. I would love to know, where does this come from, if you even know. But I can tell you that this is from the Middle English almeri, which is from Anglo-French almarie, from the word arma, which means weapons, and there's more at the word arm. So I'm guessing that this came from maybe the military, and they would have an area, maybe a pantry sort of like area, where you would open it up, and there would be a bunch of weapons in there, like all those scenes we see in those action movies where they open the thing up and take all the guns out, getting ready for war or fighting or something. So maybe that's where the word came from. And as time went on, they needed less guns and they needed more canned and boxed goods, and then we call it a pantry. Next is the word amsace. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Ambace. This is a noun from the 13th century. And surprise, surprise, it's archaic. The lowest throw at dice. Also, something worthless or unlucky. Next is ambulacral. These are some fun words in this episode. Ambulacral. Ambulacral. This is an adjective from 1811 of relating to or being any of the radial areas of echinoderms along which run the principal nerves, blood vessels, and elements of the water vascular system, as in ambulacral grooves. Anybody in the medical world, I'm guessing, would know what that word is. Next, we have a related word, ambulacrum, C-R-U-M at the end. This is a noun from 1802, an ambulacral area or part. The etymology is interesting. It actually relates to the last word in our previous episode. It is from the Latin ambulare, which means to walk, and there's more at the word amble. Next is ambulance, a relatively normal word amidst all these strange ones to me. This is a noun from 1809, a vehicle equipped for transporting the injured or sick. Next is ambulance chaser, 2 words. It's a noun from 1896. That word was coined way back in 1896? That's crazy. A lawyer or lawyer's agent who incites accident victims to sue for damages. I guess it's not that crazy that it's that old, but I wouldn't have guessed that that's how old that term was. An ambulance chasing is a noun. Next is ambulant, A-M-B-U-L-A-N-T. This is an adjective from 1619. Moving about. Synonym is ambulatory. Next is ambulate. This is an intransitive verb from circa 1623. To move from place to place. Synonym is walk. Ambulation is a noun. Next is ambulatory. A-M-B-U-L-A-T-O-R-Y. It's the first form. This is an adjective from 1598. 1. Of relating to or adapted to walking. Also occurring during a walk. 2. Moving from place to place. Synonym is itinerant. I-T-I-N-E-R-A-N-T. 3. Capable of being altered, as in, a will is ambulatory until the testator's death. I don't know if it's testator or testator. I don't even know what another option would be. T-E-S-T-A-T-O-R. I feel like I should know this word, but it is looking completely foreign to me. 4a. Able to walk about and not bedridden, as in ambulatory patients. 4b. Performed on or involving an ambulatory patient or an outpatient, as in ambulatory medical care, or an ambulatory electrocardiogram. Ambulatorily is an adverb. I think it's kind of interesting. There is no etymology for this. I think it's interesting that it's clearly very related to ambulance being used in the medical world, but it's also just, the ability to walk or occurring during a walk or adapted to walking. So what's the connection? Ambulance, the etymology doesn't really say much. It's basically just giving a lot of old words. I will give you one. Sorry, I maybe should have mentioned this before. It's from the French ambulant, which literally means ambulant field hospital. But how does medical stuff relate to walking stuff? That's the connection that I'm missing in my brain. I should probably just move on. Now we have the second form of ambulatory. This is a noun from circa 1616, a sheltered place, as in a cloister or church, for walking. Next and last word for this episode is ambuscade, ambuscade. This is a noun from circa 1588. We just have the synonym ambush. Ambuscade is also a verb, and ambuscator is a noun. Am I pronouncing this word correctly? Ambuscade. That's what it looks like. The etymology says it is Middle French embuscade, which is modified from Old Italian imboscata, which is from imboscare, which means to place in ambush. And that is from bosco, which means forest. That's of Germanic origin. It's akin to old something, OHG. I'm not sure if that's old something German. Busk, which means forest. And there's more at the words in, I-N, and bush. And that will end this episode. Thank you for listening. And until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye. Hello, nerds who like words, aka word nerds. This morning, I did some math. Was it this morning? No, it was yesterday, actually. I did some quick math. I looked at how many more pages are left in this dictionary, and assuming that I keep on using the same dictionary, it will take me about 15 more years to get through it. I know that sounds like a lot, and you would not be wrong, but I was estimating between 20 to 30 years because I really had no idea how long each letter was, and I was going off my estimation of 1 year per letter because the letter A will take me almost exactly 1 year. Granted, there's letters like X and Q and J and Z and Y that don't have as many, but I'm sure that there are letters that are longer than the letter A. But turns out it's only 15 years. Can you take this journey with me? Are you willing to listen to every single episode and do this for a total of 16 years? I hope you can. All right, first word for this episode is ambush. A-M-B-U-S-H. This is the first form. It's a verb from the 14th century. Transitive definitions. 1. To station in ambush. 2. To attack from an ambush. Synonym is waylay. W-A-Y-L-A-Y. Intransitive definition. To lie in wait. Synonym is lurk. L-U-R-K. Ambusher is a noun, and ambushment is a noun. Now we have the second form of ambush. This is a noun from the 15th century. 1. A trap in which concealed persons lie in wait to attack by surprise. 2. The persons stationed in ambush. Also, their concealed position. Those sneaky people. 3. An attack, especially from an ambush. Now we have AMDT, all lowercase. This is an abbreviation for the word amendment. Now we have AME, capital A, capital E. This is an abbreviation for American English. The language that I barely speak, which is partly why I'm reading the friggin' dictionary. Next we have, it's actually 3 words separated by commas. Amoeba, amoebic, and amoeboid, A-M-E-B-O-I-D. These are variations of amoeba, amoebic, and amoeboid. Let me explain. The first ones that I read just start with AME. The synonyms start with AMOE. So there you have it. Next, we have amoebiasis. I think that's how it's pronounced. AMEBIASIS. And because it looks like it's related to our previous words, it can also be spelled AMOE. This is a noun from 1903. Infection with or disease caused by amoebas, especially Entamoeba histolica. Next we have amoebic dysentery. Oh my God, that sounds terrible. What is it? This is a noun from 1883. Acute human intestinal amoebiasis caused by an amoeba and marked by dysentery, abdominal pain, and erosion of the intestinal wall. That sounds terrible. I hope I never get it. Maybe when I'm editing this, I will go look up a link about this thing, amoebic dysentery, and find out how you can get it. And so I'll put a link so you can read that and try to avoid it as much as possible. Next we have amoebocyte, AMEBOCYTE. Same thing as before, this is a variation of amoebocyte spelled with an OE. So when we get to the AMOEs, we will read what these words mean. Next we have amir, AMEER. It's a variation of the word emir, EMIR. Now we have ameliorate, AMELIORATE. This is a verb from 1656. Transitive definition, to make better or more tolerable. Intransitive, to grow better. Synonym is improve. Amelioration is a noun. Ameliorative is an adjective. Ameliorator is a noun. And amelioratory is an adjective. The etymology says this is an alternative of meliorate. So would meliorate be the opposite of ameliorate or ameliorate? I don't know. Maybe. Next we have ameloblast. AMELO, blast. But it's all one word. This is a noun from 1878. One of a group of columnar epithelial cells that produce and deposit enamel on the surface of a developing vertebrate tooth. Huh? If you're a dentist or a dental hygienist, call me up. Explain this to me. Leave me a voicemail and maybe I will put it on the next episode or a future episode. The etymology says a bunch of stuff. What does it say? It's Middle English ultimately from Old French esmail, ESMAIL, plus O plus blast, and there's more at the word enamel. Next we have the word amen, AMEN. This is an interjection from before the 12th century, used to express solemn ratification as of an expression of faith or hearty approval as of an assertion. The etymology says, Middle English, from Old English, from Latin, from Greek, amen, from Hebrew, amen. They are spelled the same, but the Greek has a horizontal line over the E, and the Hebrew one has a horizontal line over both the A and the E. And I really just read that verbatim. Middle English, from Old English, from Latin, from Greek, and then from Hebrew. Next, we have the word amenable, and I think we'll make this the last one for this episode. AMENABLE. This is an adjective from 1596. 1. Liable, to be brought to account. Synonym is answerable, as in citizens amenable to the law. 2a. Capable of submission, as to judgment or test. Synonym is suited, SUITED, as in the data is amenable to analysis. 2b. Readily brought to yield, submit, or cooperate, as in a government not amenable to change. Ooh, that's not so good. 2C, we have the synonym willing one, as in, was amenable to spending more time at home. Synonym for the whole thing are the words responsible and obedient. Amenability is a noun, and amenably is an adverb. The etymology says this is from Anglo-French, from amener, which means to bring, compel. That is from mener, which means to lead, which is from Latin minare, which means to drive. That is also from Latin minari, spelled slightly differently, which means to threaten. And there's more at the word mount, M-O-U-N-T. And that will end this episode. Rate, review, share, subscribe, etc., etc. Please and thank you. Until next time, this is Spencer reading the dictionary. Goodbye.